History loves to hide its darkest secrets in plain sight, leaving behind puzzles that the world's greatest minds still fail to solve. Welcome to Neutrix Vision. Today, we're bringing you an exclusive double-feature investigation into two of the most chilling, unbreakable cold cases in human history. First, we travel to a serene Australian beach where a perfectly dressed man was found dead, holding a secret code that pointed to an international espionage plot. And right after that, we will take you inside a quiet Iowa home where an invisible shadow waited in the attic to execute an unimaginable horror. Why did these killers completely erase their identities, and how did they leave absolutely zero traces behind? Trust me, every clue in these two stories will challenge your logic, and you'll want to stay tuned until the very last second to understand how they managed to fool modern science for generations. Let's dive into our first mystery. December 1, 1948. A terrifying surprise was waiting for the locals on Australia's Somerton beach as the sun began to rise. Leaning against a seawall, a man was sitting on the sand, looking as if he was peacefully asleep. But a closer look revealed a chilling reality. He wasn't breathing. As investigators dug deeper, one of the biggest mysteries in world history began to unfold right before our eyes. When people first approached him after hours of immobility, they realized he was dead. Yet his appearance was highly respectable, dressed in a sharp suit and tie, with perfectly polished shoes. There were absolutely no signs of a struggle or violence around his body. But what completely baffled the police was the absolute lack of a single footprint on the sand, leaving zero clues as to how he even got there. Who exactly was this man, and where did he come from? A mind-blowing truth came to light when the police meticulously examined the clothes he was wearing. Not a single brand label was left on them. Someone had deliberately used scissors to cut away the labels from his coat, shirt, pants, and even his underwear into tiny pieces. It seemed like the highly professional work of someone who wanted to ensure the world would never find a single shred of evidence about his identity. When the police searched his pockets, they only found a cigarette packet, a comb, and a train ticket. Not a single ID card or document stating his name or address was present. What initially looked like a routine death suddenly transformed from that very moment into a massive mystery that would mystify the entire world. To find answers, his fingerprints were dispatched to elite global agencies like the FBI and Scotland Yard, but his details were found nowhere. The police quickly understood that this was no ordinary individual. Who was this person who managed to erase his past and identity so flawlessly? Was he just a common man or a highly trained secret spy working for a foreign nation? When an autopsy was conducted to pinpoint the cause of his death, another shocking revelation emerged. There were no external wounds or visible signs of poison anywhere on his body. However, his internal organs were heavily congested with extreme hemorrhaging. The science of that era simply could not identify what kind of poison could cause this. Who possessed the technology to execute such a flawless, untraceable murder back in those days? While hunting for his identity, a brown suitcase was discovered in the cloakroom of the Adelaide railway station. It was deposited there just a day before the man's body was found. When the police popped it open, they witnessed the exact same eerie sight. Every single piece of clothing inside had its labels carefully cut out. However, a tiny piece of evidence was left behind in that suitcase, escaping the eyes of whoever cleaned it. A unique orange thread used to repair the clothes inside the suitcase caught the immediate attention of the investigators. Intriguingly, that specific type of thread was not even available in Australia at the time. It could only be sourced in the United States. This made it clear that the man either came from abroad or had high-level international connections. Along with this, a tie marked with the name T. Keane was found. But no one by that name had been reported missing during that era. Based on the items found in the suitcase, the investigation team reached a definitive clarity. This was no ordinary citizen, but a man who planned and kept his every single step shrouded in absolute secrecy. Months rolled by with zero progress in the case, and his true identity remained an unsolved enigma. It was then that the police decided to re-examine the man's clothes with extreme precision under a microscope. That was when an unexpected secret finally tumbled out. Hidden inside the lining of his trousers, a tiny secret pocket had been cleverly stitched. The pocket was so incredibly small that discovering it was nearly impossible for an ordinary glance. Tucked tightly inside that hidden pocket was a tiny rolled-up piece of paper. When the police pulled it out, they saw two strange words printed on it: Tamam Shud. In the Persian language, this phrase translates to "it is ended" or "it is finished." It was a slip of paper carefully torn from the very last page of a world-famous poetry book, the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. This scrap of paper heavily reinforced the suspicion that this was no ordinary death, but a deep, dark conspiracy. Did he leave this philosophical message to signal the end of his own life, or was this a highly classified code word belonging to an espionage network? The discovery of this Tamam Shud paper instantly drew the sharpest eyes of cryptographers and crime investigators worldwide to this case. Where did the book come from, and why did he hide it so secretly in his clothes? The relentless effort by the police to track down the origin of that paper finally paid off. They discovered the exact book tossed onto the back seat of a car parked near Somerton Beach. It turned out to be an extremely rare edition of Omar Khayyam's poetry. Upon examining the book, the last page indeed had its Tamam Shud text perfectly snipped out. However, what shocked the police even more were a few strange letters scribbled with a pencil on the back cover of the book. 5 lines of meaningless English capital letters were written on the back cover. Convinced that these letters represented a secret code, the police brought in world-renowned code breakers and military intelligence officers. Despite laboring for years, no one could ever decipher the real message hidden behind those characters. Was it a coded transmission meant for a spy agency, or the coordinates of a secret safe house? It remains an unbroken challenge to this day. Along with the code, a phone number was also written in that book, belonging to a nurse named Jessica who lived in Adelaide. Did this nurse have a connection to the dead man? The police believed they had finally found the primary lead they were searching for all this time, hoping the mystery would unravel. But just when everyone thought the case was solved, an unexpected twist slammed the doors shut.
Using that phone number, the police tracked down and questioned the nurse, Jessica. Initially, she flatly denied knowing anything about the deceased man. However, when the police showed her a plaster-cast model of the dead man's face, she went into a state of total shock. The police recorded that she looked as if she was about to faint and began trembling with intense fear. Although she repeatedly maintained that she did not know him, the terror in her eyes made it glaringly obvious to the police that she was shielding a massive secret. This happened right after World War II, a tense era dominated by the global Cold War. Spy networks were hyperactive during those days. Coincidentally, a crucial Australian military intelligence facility was located just a short distance from Jessica's house. Many at the time firmly believed that the dead man was a Russian spy and that Jessica already knew him well. Yet that nurse carried that secret to her grave, never revealing the truth. Was this a pure espionage thriller or a tragic tale of forbidden love? Those who saw Jessica's son noticed a startling detail. The boy shared some rare physical traits identical to the Somerton man. This transformed the mystery from a mere spy thriller into a secret family saga. With Jessica refusing to speak the truth, the case remained frozen as one of the world's most complex cold cases. For decades, the Somerton man lay buried like a total stranger in an Australian grave. But in the year 2022, modern science made one final breakthrough attempt to crack the mystery. Through cutting-edge DNA analysis, scientists finally discovered his real name, Charles Webb. He was an electrical engineer from Melbourne. While he finally got a name, the thick web of mysteries surrounding his life remained completely untouched. If Charles Webb was just an ordinary engineer, why did he cut the labels off his clothes? Why did he write those unbreakable codes? How could a civilian behave so flawlessly like a seasoned secret agent? The answers to these questions are still a complete blank. Whether his death was a cold-blooded murder or a meticulously staged suicide remains an eternal mystery. The identity of Charles Webb took over 70 years to surface, yet the true motives behind his actions remain buried in the shadows of time. But while the Somerton man left behind an elaborate trail of codes and suitcases across a beach, our next mystery takes us to a place where the clues weren't hidden in secret pockets. They were painted on the walls in blood. We are leaving the sunny shores of Australia and stepping back into the year 1912, into a small, silent town in Iowa, a place where an entire family walked into their home, locked the doors for the night, completely unaware that an absolute monster was already waiting for them in the dark.
Inside that house, which appeared perfectly peaceful from the outside, the stench of death was already beginning to take shape in the shadows. A completely unknown figure was hiding in the dark corners, silently observing every single movement. During those moments when the only sound echoing through the rooms was the rhythmic breathing of a family fast asleep, something unspeakably horrific was about to unfold, an event that even the dim streetlights of the small village would fail to witness. Our journey into the darkest pages of history brings us to June 1912 in the tiny, quiet village of Villisca, Iowa. The locals lived a peaceful life, and everyone deeply respected Josiah Moore, his wife Sarah, and their 4 children. That evening, after attending a church function, the family returned home with absolutely no warning of the impending doom waiting for them. They even welcomed 2 young neighborhood girls to stay over for the night. As they locked the doors of the house, no one could have imagined that this would be the final sleep for all 8 individuals. As the late-night hours took over, the house became the stage for an unbelievable act of pure brutality. While the outside world was buried in deep sleep, a figure armed with a lethal weapon moved completely soundlessly through the small Villisca home. The next morning, the village wouldn't just wake up to tragic news, they would face the beginning of a dark enigma that would terrify the world for over a century. The doors of that house closed that night, locking in a massive secret forever. The events that took place inside those walls during the dark hours were enough to terrify the bravest of souls. Investigators later deduced that the killer had actually been hiding in the house's attic for hours, completely unnoticed. From that elevated vantage point, he carefully listened to every tiny sound from the rooms below, waiting patiently for every single member of the household to fall into a deep, uninterrupted sleep. Those agonizing minutes witnessed a suffocating silence building up inside the house. Once midnight passed, he crept down from the attic, gripping a heavy, lethal axe. Moving stealthily from room to room, he attacked the sleeping victims one after the other. His movements were executed with such a level of chilling cruelty that it defies human comprehension. Without granting them even a single second to scream or react, he ruthlessly completed his horrific task under the cover of total darkness. The actions the killer took after committing the murders before finally exiting the house raised even deeper, disturbing questions. He actually spent a considerable amount of time inside the home, carefully covering every single mirror in the rooms with cloths and leaving half-eaten food items abandoned on the kitchen table. The fact that he remained inside the house with absolute calmness after wiping out 8 human lives completely baffled the police and future investigators alike. When the next morning arrived, the Moore house remained unusually quiet. It immediately raised suspicions for their neighbor, Ed Sellinger, who noticed that Josiah Moore hadn't stepped out for his early morning routines, and the children weren't playing around the yard as usual. A wave of deep anxiety spread through the neighborhood when repeated knocks on the door went completely unanswered. Finally, Josiah's brother, Ross Moore, arrived and unlocked the front door using his spare key, unleashing the true gruesome horror of the crime upon the outside world. The sight that greeted those who stepped inside was beyond words. In the heavy darkness of the rooms, 8 blood-drenched bodies turned the family home into a literal graveyard. The realization that even the innocent, peacefully sleeping children were not spared from the killer's axe sent shockwaves through the entire community, completely paralyzing the people of Villisca with raw terror. Within minutes of the discovery, a massive crowd of locals and police gathered around the property. However, because systematic investigation protocols did not exist back then, the frantic crowd surged directly into the house, accidentally destroying crucial forensic evidence. Only the blood-stained axe, left behind by the killer, remained in the room like a silent, mute witness to the carnage. From that exact moment, as absolute fear gripped every street in Villisca, the house stood transformed into a chilling monument of horror. When officers analyzed the crime scene, they stumbled upon some highly bizarre details. The killer wasn't just a brutal criminal. The scene indicated he possessed some deeply abnormal, ritualistic habits. The faces of all the victims had been deliberately covered with cloths. Furthermore, he had meticulously draped clothing and sheets over every window and mirror in the entire house. Why he felt the absolute need to do this remains a haunting, unanswered question to this day. Further evidence revealed that he calmly walked into the kitchen after the killings to eat some food, spending quite some time relaxing there. The sheer absence of any guilt or panic, allowing him to stay in a house of butchered bodies, deeply unsettled the investigators. Even though the family's own axe was used for the murders, clues showed that he made a deliberate attempt to wipe it clean before leaving it behind. Additionally, a piece of tobacco and other random items discovered in the children's room sparked endless psychological debates. The police were left completely blind as to whether this was a meticulously planned hit or the sudden outburst of a deranged mind. Every bizarre signature he left behind in those rooms, instead of pointing to his identity, only made the case infinitely more complicated. As the investigation ground on, the shadow of suspicion fell upon several individuals. The primary suspect was a traveling preacher named Reverend George Kelly. Known for exhibiting severe mental eccentricities, it was proven that he was present in Villisca on the night of the murders and left on an early morning train. His highly contradictory statements to the police, combined with his disturbing, overly detailed knowledge of the crime scene layout, raised massive red flags among the officers. On the other hand, the local community strongly suspected Frank Jones, a prominent businessman and state senator. Jones shared a bitter, intense business rivalry with Josiah Moore. A powerful theory emerged that Frank Jones had hired a hitman to eliminate Moore, who was posing a massive threat to his business empire. However, due to his immense political power and influence, the investigation into Jones was repeatedly disrupted, and without solid scientific evidence, the suspicion simply lingered without a conclusion. Investigators also considered the terrifying possibility that this was the work of a transient serial killer, pointing to a string of shockingly similar axe murders committed across various parts of America during that exact era. But with zero fingerprints or scientific forensics, the police could never formally secure charges against anyone. Every passing day generated wild new theories, but the true face of the killer remained entirely blank. The exhausting years of investigations and trials completely drained the people of Villisca. Reverend Kelly was put on trial twice, but due to the absolute lack of solid proof, the court acquitted him both times. Local political rivalries and infighting among officials severely crippled the speed of the investigation. At one point, the case became a dark tool used for personal gain and political vengeance rather than finding justice, leaving a permanent stain on history. The primitive state of forensic technology at the time was the ultimate downfall of the case. Without access to fingerprint databases or modern DNA testing, solving a case with zero eyewitnesses became an impossible dream. The tragic destruction of evidence on day one, coupled with massive blunders by the police, handed the killer a free pass to escape the law. As the case files slowly gathered dust month after month, the traumatized citizens of Villisca were forced to live with the haunting reality of an unpunished monster in their past. Ultimately, the investigation into one of the world's most shocking massacres ended in a complete dead end. Thousands of pages of documents and hundreds of testimonies were recorded, yet the burning question of who slaughtered those 8 innocent souls received no answer. As time marched on, official efforts ceased entirely, leaving the small house in Villisca as a permanent, terrifying riddle. The failure to solve it wasn't just a failure of law enforcement. It was proof that the killer had vanished into thin air, taking his dark secrets into eternity. 2 completely different corners of the world, 2 entirely different eras, yet both stories leave us with the exact same chilling realization. Sometimes, human beings can vanish so perfectly that not even a century of science can unmask them. What are your thoughts on these 2 legendary cold cases? Do you believe the Somerton man was a victim of a high-stakes Cold War conspiracy, or was he just a broken soul? And who do you think was the real monster behind the Villisca axe murders? The erratic preacher, a powerful senator, or an elusive serial killer moving through the dark? We want to hear your unique theories, so drop your thoughts in the comments section below. If these mind-blowing mysteries kept you hooked until the very end, make sure to hit that like button and share this video with your fellow mystery lovers. If you haven't joined our community yet, smash that subscribe button right now and turn on the bell icon so you never miss our deep dive investigations into the world's greatest secrets. Thank you for watching Neutrix Vision, and we will see you in the next thrilling episode. Goodbye.